Here and say that we are live. Lower the music there. Hello and welcome to This Date in History, also known as TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today and years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things that we personally find intriguing enough for us to bring to you. The sources of this information comes from the smart device application Today in History, What Happened Today in History,
historical calendar,
and a website onthisday.com. For links to those sources, the music, and anything else we gather throughout the show, check the underbar. Anyway, I am A.O. Xander.
Dr. Lunk.
And today is Woden's Day, also known as Wednesday, March 9th, 2022. Why don't you start us off?
In 41 BC, Lu Che, posthumously known as Emperor Wu of Han, assumed the throne over the Han dynasty of China.
Dang, pretty cool.
After his death.
Yeah. In 1009, the first known mention of Lithuania occurred within the annals of the monastery of Quedlinburg. Cool, dude. Lithuania.
Hey, yo, in 1226, Kawasamain Sultan Jahala Adin conquers the Georgian capital of Barbarusi.
And 4 years after that, in 1230, the Bulgarian Tsar Ivan Asen II defeated Theodore of Epirus in the Battle of Klokotynista.
Also, 1500, the fleet of Pedro Alvarez Cabral leaves Lisbon for the Indies. The fleet will discover Brazil, which lies within the boundaries granted to Portugal in the Treaty of Tordesillas.
Yeah, what's interesting is I actually yesterday I spoke about the show while playing Adventure Quest 3D, and somebody asked if I did anything about Brazil, like if I mentioned if we spoke about any history of Brazil, and I'm like, yeah, dude, and here we go, Brazil. Who, if you're watching. Jumping on up 201 years later, in 1701, Safavid troops retreated from Basra, ending a 3-year occupation. Dang, that's a long occupation back then.
Indeed it is. Also, 1765, after a campaign by the Winter, Voltaire, judge in Paris, posthumously exonerates Jean Calas of murdering his son Calas, has been tortured and executed in 1962 on the charge though his son may have committed suicide.
Yeah, I think 1762, not 1962.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, that's awful. So they thought he killed his son, and then he was tortured and executed. Dude, that's just awful. He already went through enough with his son possibly committing suicide, let alone his son dying, and then he has to go through that. That's awful. That's just poor guy.
That's why they do evidence now.
Yeah, and habeas corpus and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Jump on up to 1776, just a mere 11 years after the previous article. The Wealth of Nations by Scottish economist and philosopher Adam Smith was published. What is the Wealth of Nations? Let me look that up real quick. The Wealth of Nations, 1776. Let me look that up. Wealth of Nations, 1776. An inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations, generally referred to by its shortened title, The Wealth of Nations, is the magnum opus of the Scottish economist and moral philosopher Adam Smith. It described the industrialized capitalist system that was the upending of the mercantile system. Interesting. I'm going to add that to the underbar. As I do, why don't you tell us what happened in 1796?
In 1796, Napoleon Bonaparte marries his first wife, Josephine de Beauharnais.
Cool.
Yeah.
In 1811, Paraguayan forces defeated Manuel Belgrano at the Battle of Takari. How many wives did Napoleon have? That's just... How many... I gotta look that up. Oh, he had 2 wives. Okay. Alright.
Also, in 1815, Francis Ronalds describes the first battery-operated clock in the Philosophical magazine.
Whoa, that's pretty interesting. Battery operation. Like, when were batteries even invented? When were batteries invented? 1800. Okay, so this was shortly after that, 1815. So 15 years after they were actually invented, they're already putting them into clocks. That seems a little slow, but yeah. We live in times where things are really quick. Jumping on up to 1841, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the United States versus the Amistad case that captive Africans who had seized control of the ship carrying them had been taken into slavery illegally. Good.
Yeah.
See, we come across stuff like this all the time, and that's never mentioned in anything. Why does everybody always just uphold the hate, uphold a lot of things that are actually untrue? Just to justify and validate their own, incorrect ideologies. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Also, in 1960...
You mean 1842?
1842, the first documented discovery of gold in California occurs at Rancho San Francisco 6 years before the California gold rush.
Dang. That's pretty cool.
There be gold in them hills.
There be gold in them thar hills. Arg. Also in 1842, Giuseppe Verdi's third opera, Nabucco, received its premiere performance in Milan, the success of which established Verdi as one of Italy's foremost opera composers.
Damn.
Yeah.
Also, 1962, American Civil War, USS Monitor and CSS Virginia fight to a draw in the Battle of Hampton Roads. The first battle between 2 ironclad warships.
I think you meant 1862. I don't think that happened in 1962. USS Monitor and CSS Virginia. Yeah, it was a stalemate, although both sides claimed victory, neither actually did victory. But this was the first, quote-unquote modern era, I believe, naval warfare, because this is, they were ironclads, they weren't just wooden warships, they had, they were specifically designed just for warfare, of a whole new era. And I think the triangle one is the CSS, and the one with the turret is the US, the Union. But we skipped over another one again, 1847, during the Mexican-American War. The first large-scale amphibious assault in U.S. history was launched during the siege of Veracruz. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that confuses me. The Mexican-American War, I get accepted vernaculars, but Mexico is in America. America is 35 countries encompassing, America is 2 continents with 35 countries within them. The United States of America being one of them. That's why it's of America, not America of America. I don't know. It's a semantic, but it just pisses me off. We gotta stop with accepted vernaculars with that, because Canada and America, bro, Canada is in America. Learn geography. It's not that hard. Anyway, jumping on up to 1908, Inter Milan was founded on football club Internazionale following a schism from AC Milan.
And also in 1916, the Mexican Revolution, Pancho Villa leads nearly 500 Mexican raiders in an attack against the border town of Columbus, New Mexico.
Wow. So, yeah, Pancho Villa. That's a big name in history. In 1933, during the Great Depression, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt submitted the Emergency Banking Act to Congress, the first of his New Deal policies. The Emergency Banking Act, let me look that up real quick. It was an act passed by the Congress in March 1933 in an attempt to stabilize the banking system. Well, that, obviously. See. 3 days after FDR declared a nationwide bank holiday, combined with the Federal Reserve's commitment to supply unlimited amounts of currency to reopen banks, created 100% deposit insurance. I'm not an economist, so this is going a little bit over my head, but I'm going to add this to the underbar for anyone who's interested in looking a little bit into this. Anyway, why don't you tell us what happened in 1942?
Sure. In 1942, during the Second Global Conflict, the Dutch East Indies unconditionally surrendered to the Japanese forces in Kalajat Sangban, West Java, thus completing Japan's Dutch East Indies campaign.
Yep. Japan taking over everything. 2 years later, also during World War II, Soviet Army planes attacked Tallinn, Estonia.
Also, in 1945, during World War II, Allied forces carried out a fire bombing over Tokyo, destroying most of the capital and killing over 100,000 civilians. Yeah, that was horrible.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, that's because, a lot of Japanese architecture is, wood and paper, so, and actually...
Fossil, pretty much.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not sure if you know, but our military did try bat bombs. Essentially, they even, they made, for target practices, Japanese villages and everything, and they strapped incendiary devices with timed fuses onto bats, and they just sent the bats out and let them go and roost in the eaves and everything, and then it went off, killing the bats, of course, unfortunately, but hey, war is hell. But then it just burns everything down, But there's a lot of weird stuff that happened during World War II. Well, a lot of weird stuff happens all the time, but, yeah, check out, bat bombs. 1 year later, also known as 365 days, 1946, Bolton Wanderers Stadium disaster at Burton Park, Bolton, England, caused the deaths of 33 people and injured hundreds more. Oh man, that is a disaster. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
1954?
In 1954, Mccarthyism, CBS television broadcast the See It Now episodes, a report on Senator Joseph McCarthy, produced by Fred Brindley.
McCarthyism, I am familiar with that, but to anybody who doesn't fully know, McCarthyism is a voice for his campaign against alleged communists in the U.S. government and other institutions carried out under Senator Joseph McCarthy in the period of 1950 through 54. Many of the accused were blacklisted or lost their jobs, although most did not, in fact, belong to the Communist Party. So essentially, a polar opposite of what we're living through right now politically. Basically, everybody who's not a communist is getting their shit frozen and whatnot. Moving on up to 1956, Soviet forces suppressed mass demonstrations in the Georgian SSR, reacting to the Nikita Khrushchev's de-Stalinization policy. Yep. The Soviet blocs are trying to break free.
Oh, in 1957, a 8.6 MW Adrenal Island earthquake shakes the
Aleutian
Island, causing over 500 million damages from ground movement and a destructive tsunami.
I think it was only 5 million.
So, just
yeah.
$5 million.
But that's still a lot of money. That's a lot. Also,
1959.
Oh, looks like we have a duplicate here. Moving on up to 1959, the Barbie doll made its debut at the American International Toy Fair in New York. And actually,
Yeah.
somebody made a life-size proportionally, because when you when you scale things up or shrink things down, it's hard to explain. But if you try to do it proportionally, it gets all disproportioned. So what somebody did was they made a real life, life-size Barbie doll, based off of like the proportions of the actual doll, and it is horrifying. Life size Barbie images. Yeah, she would be like 6 foot something, and it's just crazy. I'm gonna post this in Mic List for you, um, for later. Let's see here. Post this. Anyway, what happened in 1960?
In 1960, Dr. Ben Hilbert Scrivener implanted for the first time a shunt he invented into a patient, which allows the patient to receive hemodialysis on a regular basis.
Yeah, what a shunt I believe is. Well, actually, what I instead of speculating, what is a shunt? A shunt is a hollow tube surgically placed in the brain or occasionally the spine to help drain cerebrospinal fluid and redirect it to another location in the body where it can be reabsorbed. My mom had one of those. She had a problem with her brain, and they had to put like a little machine into it. So she had a hole in her skull, and she had like this little bump. And if anything happened to it, like her brain would swell, and eventually she would die. Um, and it was awful to live with something like that. Like it had to drain her spinal fluid all the way back down into her liver or something. I don't know. So that's not what I was thinking of. But dang, 1960. You know what? I'm not sure, but this article could have been talking about my mom. I'm not sure. I have to talk to Dad. My mom died back in 2015, so I can't ask her anymore unless I go to a séance. Anyway, let's get back on track here. What happened in you did 1960. So moving on up to 1961. I'm sorry?
I can do both. 1961, Sputnik 9 successfully launches carrying a dog and a human dummy, and demonstrating that the Soviet Union was ready to begin human spaceflight.
Oh, I didn't know that they launched Biden into space. Did it human dummy?
Yep.
6 years. 6 years later, in 1967, Trans World Airlines Flight 553 crashed in a field in Concord Township, Ohio, following a mid-air collision with a Beechcraft Baron, causing the deaths of 26 unfortunate souls. Lunk?
Yeah.
74?
Also, 64.
74.
I'm about to say, 1974, the Mars 7 flyby bus released the descent module too early, missing Mars.
Oh, whoops. Whoops. Gotta time your jumps right. 2 years later, in 1976, 42 people died in the Calaveras cable car disaster, the worst cable car accident to date. Dang.
Yeah. Also, in 1977, the Hanafi Siege in a 39-hour standoff armed Hanafi Muslims siege 3 Washington, D.C. buildings.
Whoa, I'm gonna have to look that up. Which buildings? Let's see here. The 1977 Hanafi Siege occurred on March 9th through the 11th, 1977, when 3 buildings in Washington, D.C. were seized by 12 Hanafi movement gunmen. The gunmen were led by Hamas Abdul Khalis, who, pardon me, who wanted to bring attention to the murder of his family in 1973. They took 149 hostages. What were the buildings? Building takeovers. let's see here. The 7 members of Kyle's group burst into the headquarters of B'nai B'rith at 1640 Rhode Island Avenue, NW, in downtown Washington, 5 miles south of Kyle's headquarters, blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, I'm not going to read all of that, but I'm going to add that to the underbar for anybody who wants to look into that. In 1978, the Jaggery Toll Road, the first toll highway in Indonesia, was inaugurated by President Suharto, connecting Jakarta, Bogor, and Siway, West Java. Cool.
In 1987, Chrysler announced its acquisition of American Motors Corporation.
Nice. 10 years later, in 1997, Comet Hale-Bopp. Observers in China, Mongolia, and eastern Siberia were treated to a rare double feature as an eclipse permitted Hale-Bopp to be seen during the day. Cool. Lucky. I want to see a comet. Also, a nice, Lucky there, take this to second, 97.
Okay, also in 1997, Notorious B.I.G. is murdered in Los Angeles after attending the Soul Train Music Awards. He is gunned down leaving an after party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. His murder remains unsolved.
Dang. Yeah, what was it you said earlier?
One of the people, some people believe that Jay-Z might be the one who orchestrated it.
Dang. People have to figure that out. Like, we have a Moida. Moving on up to 2011, Space Shuttle Discovery made its final landing after 39 flights. Yeah, I remember when they canceled the shuttle program. Mom was really sad. And so was I. Oh, that appears to be last. Before we get into births and deaths, any articles here intrigue you? Hello?
Oh, the homicide.
What?
The homicide, the slave ship.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to say, well, the firebombing in Tokyo, the BIG thing, trying to see, like, I'm gonna have to say, the battle between the Monitor and the Virginia. That's interesting. Anyway, getting into bursts here. Starting us off in 1451, we have Americo Vespucci, Italian cartographer and explorer whose name was used to name the Americas. The source didn't name that part there, which is, it's starting to make me question if my source is intentionally, like, omitting historical occurrences, because we're going to run into this again in this show. We've done it countless times in the past. There's another article or two in this episode today where they omitted historical things. So I'm starting to think if they're trying to sway people away from knowing everything. So, but yeah, America. So, anyway, why don't you take the next one here?
Sure. In 1564, David Barbarusi, American theologian, cartographer, and astronomer.
Yeah, I think it was 1564, and I think it was German. But Fabricius. Yep. Moving on up to 1662, Franz Anton von Spork, a German novel. I wonder if he invented the spork. Let me, who invented the spork? Samuel W. Francis in 1874. Okay. Patent drawing for what we call the spork. He was an esteemed member of the upper crust, but he was also the type of eccentric who looked at spoon and fork and thought, this is one too many utensils. Which is right. Now, spork knife.
A fapoon.
A fapoon, yes. A fapoon. But there's a spork knife out there I've seen. It has like a serrated edge on one side of the spoon. Yeah, here it is. It's a fork knife spoon. A fakanafoon. Or something, I don't know.
A kaboom.
Kafoom. I'm gonna add this to the underbar. Anyway, moving on up to 1749, we have Henri Gabriel Requide Comte de Mirabeau, a French journalist and politician.
1824, Amasa Leland Stanford, American businessman and politician who founded Stanford University.
Yep, and I know I went on a rant about America and stuff, but up until 1900, and I know even after that there are still some states and stuff, but like the United States didn't, exist the way it is we know today. Like back in like the 1800s, 1900s, because it wasn't even until like 1950 something before we even got Hawaii and Alaska. So we've only been what we are for about 70 years now out of the 300 we've been around, or 250, 300 somewhere in there. So there's a lot of people, living in the States but didn't have the state citizenship and everything, so, and all that stuff. 1890, we have Vyacheslav Molotov, a Russian politician and diplomat who was a Soviet Minister of Foreign Affairs. And I wonder if he invented the Molotov cocktail. I'm not even going to look that up. It's such a common thing. Why don't you tell us who was born today in 1904?
1904, we have Paul Wilbur Kipsit, U.S. soldier engineer who founded the Kipsit Audio Technology.
Cool. 1911, we have Clara Rockmore, a U.S. classical violin prodigy and theremin player. Theremins are really interesting instruments. They operate off of your body's electromagnetics. So, like, let's see here if I can find theremin. There's a song, I'm going to post this in the underbar. This is a really good song. Let's see here. Share, copy. I'm going to add that to the underbar here right now.
Why you do that?
Yes.
In 1918, George Lincoln Rockwell, U.S. sailor and politician who founded the American Nazi Party.
Boo! Nazis. In 1930, we have Ornette Coleman, a U.S. saxophonist, violinist, trumpet player, and composer.
Oh, in 1934, Yuri Gagarin, Soviet-Russian colonel who piloted a cosmonaut, who was the first man in space.
Yeah, Yuri Gagarin. Once again, my source called him an astronaut, which he was not, and it didn't even say that he was the first man in space. That you'd think would be big. You'd think it would say that, but no. So, good thing I already knew that, but, yeah, I'm starting to really question our sources. So, but until we get some more people to help with the research and everything, because, like, there is that onthisday.com, and that has everything. Our app sources only have highlights, unfortunately. But, yeah. 1 year later, in 1935, Andrew Vitruvi was born. He was a U.S. engineer and businessman who co-founded Qualcomm Incorporated.
Yeah. Also, in 1941, we have Ernesto Miranda, U.S. criminal.
Yeah, wondering if that's like June 13th, 1966, the U.S. Supreme Court hands down its decision in Miranda versus Arizona, establishing the principle that all criminal suspects must be advised of their rights before interrogation. So I think, was this the same guy, Ernesto Miranda?
I don't know.
Let's see here. Miranda versus Arizona. Let me look that up here. Miranda versus Arizona. Landmark decision, blah, blah. Trying to... Let's see here. Ernesto Miranda. Let me see if I can find a picture of him as well. Because it shows here. So if this is the same guy, then we'll know.
Well,
yes.
Why you do that? 1942, John Cale, Welsh musician, composer, singer, songwriter, and record producer.
Yeah, I literally just confirmed that this is the same guy that the Miranda rights were made from. So it's because of his criminal case and everything that the Miranda rights, you have the right to remain silent, you have the right to attorney, yada yada, all that crap. It's because of stuff that he was involved in. Moving on up to 1943, we have Bobby Fischer, a U.S. chess player and author. Wasn't he the one who
Yes, EBC Blue.
Yeah.
Also, 1945, yes, Dennis Rader, U.S. serial killer, also known as the BTK Strangler.
Strangler.
Yeah, BTK also made bind, torture, and kill.
Oh. Oh shit. That's not good. So he's
Well,
basically
well,
like a Saw.
Yeah. You know what else is not good? What he used to fucking do. What he used to do as a job.
Oh, what
He
was
used to
his...
work in home security.
Oh, God.
Yeah, he's currently in prison right now on multiple life charges.
Good. Good. Dude, that's like out of left field, just like John Wayne Gacy, a serial killer, and he was a clown. He went to children's parties and he murdered people.
After that, he was an upstanding member of society too. He was a fucking Democrat also.
Yeah. You know, you just never know people, guy. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. That's some shit. He got caught in 2005. That was like a whole big article.
Yeah. 1954, Carlos Gozin was born today. He was a Brazilian, Lebanese, French business executive. Brazilian, Lebanese, and French. Like, that is all over the globe. Pitbull can shove it with his Mr. Worldwide. This guy is the real Mr. Worldwide. Like triple citizenships. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Also, 1954, Bobby Sands, PIRA volunteer and an Irish Republican politician.
I think PIRA stands for People's Irish Republican Army. Or, Provisional Irish Republican Army. Yeah. Anyway, moving into deaths here, we have 886 Abu Mashakar al-Balkini, Muslim scholar and astrologer.
1463, Catherine of Bologna, Italian nun and saint. Is she the saint of deli meat? Who knows? No one knows. I don't know.
That sounds like a load up a loda.
Oh my god, people say a load of baloney because every time I think of that, I think of that episode of Ed, Ed and Eddie, and Rolf is paranoid about a big ass bag of baloney he has.
Who's after Rolf's bag of baloney?
Yeah, it is with him eating it all.
Yeah. God, that's a lot of baloney. 1649, we have James Hamilton, 1st Duke of Hamilton, a Scottish soldier and politician. Not the same James Hamilton.
Yeah, I know. Also, 1641, Henry Rich vs. Earl of Holland, English soldier and politician.
Yeah, 1709, Ralph Montague, 1st Duke of Montague, English courtier and politician.
Also, in 1808, Joseph Barnamy the Elder, Italian architect.
Yeah, you
Check
should.
out his tomb.
Yeah, it's a pyramid. I'm gonna post this in the underbar, not the underbar. I'm gonna post this in the mic list as well for you. But it's a pretty cool looking tomb.
Pyramid? Dick.
What? What? Okay, moving on up to 1847. Mary Anning died today. She was an English paleontologist. I was going to make a joke, but I guess I'll just hold it off because it might be offensive. But, yeah.
Paleontologists are fucking awesome.
What? You still there? Hello?
Hello.
There you are.
Paleontologists are awesome.
Yes. Who died in 1926 to date?
In 1926, Miyako Yusi, Japanese spiritual leader who founded Reiki.
Interesting. 1997, we have the notorious B.I.G., a U.S. rapper, songwriter, and actor.
Also known as, Christopher Wallace, also known as Notorious B.I.G.
For some reason, the name Marcellus Wallace popped in my brain. You said Wallace.
I know. You're stuck in Quentin Tarantino's world.
I know. I never seen that movie either.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, 2016, Robert Horton, a U.S. actor. Which
Did you hear who?
I don't know. Maybe.
Hey, if you play a certain band, you could actually get Horton Hears a Who.
Huh.
if you get the riff, the joke, the Who, the band the Who.
Oh yeah, I know the Who. Ah.
Yeah, if you play that in front of them, it'll be Horton hears the Who. Yeah, I will take that elsewhere.
And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in, which also includes
Soyan TV on Twitch.
and everything OMNI Coalition. For your dose of Passive Events Daily, we stream every day, noon-ish, mostly noon, maybe before, maybe after, Pacific time, which is also
2 p.m. Central.
Yep. For all of you and all of us, I am Mayo Xander.
I am currently out of my mind.
And you are you. Until tomorrow, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection, rate 5 thumbs, and subscribe. Till you see us then, toodles.